Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. So, okay, let's wait for others to join, and then we'll begin our discussion for the day. So, I sincerely hope that we'll be awake for the next 1.5 hours. It's very crucial. Please don't fall asleep. Tea, coffee, whatever keeps you awake. Okay, so so far we have, apart from the very basic information, we have discussed the election of the president, the vote value as a concept. We also saw what is a formula and how to calculate the vote value of MPs as well as MLAs. Okay, now uh, just a couple of moments earlier, we had seen that the election of the president is indirect and follows a system of proportional representation by means of STV, single transferable vote. Of course, these two elements are mentioned in the constitution itself. Article 55, clause 3 talks about this system. But what is more important is to understand what we mean by proportional representation and what we mean by single transferable vote. Don't worry, this won't be asked in the examination, but we should have a basic understanding of the phrases involved here. First up, proportional representation. Now, think of this through an example. Let's say this is a class of 100 people. Let's assume that we have 100 students. Now, students here could be from multiple streams. Let us assume that out of these 100 students, 60 are engineers, 30 are from arts background, and 10 are commerce graduates. Others who have been left out don't feel left out. It was just an example. Now, as far as these 100 students are concerned, let's say we want to select a group of 10 people to have a discussion on various educational streams in the country that a student can opt for, its advantages, its disadvantages, challenges, etc. We want to select 10 students from this group. Do you think if we select all 10 engineers, will that be a very appropriate selection? Of course not. Or if we select 5 engineers, 3 art students, 2 commerce students, everybody is getting represented, but the ratio is very haphazard. Or if you select 2 engineers, 8 art students, that's also not correct. I mean, what we want is that every group, engineers, art students, and commerce students, they should be represented, but in the same proportion that they are in the total population. Representation in the same proportion to that in total population. Meaning, think of this. Out of 100, engineers are 60%. Yes or no? Okay. Art students 30%. Yes or no? Commerce students 10%. This means if you have to pick any from this group, any 10 students, 60% of them should be engineers. 6 out of 10 should be engineers. 30%, 3 out of 10 should be from the arts background, and 1 should be from the commerce background. This would be the best way to represent them. That is, they are all now represented in the same proportion that they are in the total population. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Yes or no? Okay, great. A lot of people have started writing 631 and all. Great, amazing. This is what is called proportional representation. Now, let me ask you a more important question here. Let's say this group has to choose, or in the same 100 students, there are 50 men and 50 women, or girls and boys. If I have to choose 5 or 6 people to represent gender discussion, I will choose 3 men, 3 women, right? Here also, proportional representation, all okay. But forget all this now. What if I have to choose only one person? One person to be chosen. Then what do we do? We have to pick from 100 students just one to represent the entire 100 students on a debate on gender studies. What should we do? If we pick a male student, a man from this group, women are not represented. If we pick a woman, a female, men are not represented. Any which way, proportional representation will not happen. Are we clear on this point? Of course. This will only happen if you have multiple seats. If you have 2 seats, 3, 4, 5, 6, it can be in proportion. But if you only have one person, one seat to be chosen, imagine out of these 100 students, you have to choose one person who will represent or who will give a discussion on the importance of selecting the right subject in your 12th standard. If you pick an engineer, he'll always sing praise and glory about how nice it is to choose science stream. Or if you pick an art student, he will try to justify his own topic. Same goes for commerce. Where is the proportional representation? It will not take place. That is why, sadly, when it comes to the election of the president, we say that we follow proportional representation, but it is not actually effective. Why? Because proportional representation as a system is only applicable only applicable in case there is more than one seat. In case there is more than one seat available. In case of president, only one seat, right? Hence, even though on paper we say that we follow a system of proportional representation, we don't really follow it because it cannot be followed. But nevertheless, I hope you have understood what is the meaning of proportional representation, right? Proportional representation simply means that you will be represented in the same proportion that you are in the total population. If you simply take, for example, in the entire country, you have to select 100 people from amongst all the men and women, and these 100 people are going to debate on the gender politics of the country. The best choice would be 50 men, 50 women, roughly, or say 49 men, 51 women. But if you have to only pick and choose one person who will represent the interest of the entire country on some international platform on gender studies, who do you choose? If you choose a man, women get unrepresented. If you choose a woman, then the men are not represented. That is why proportional representation only works if there are multiple seats. Now look at the president's post. How many presidents? Just one, right? So there are multiple parties. Now let's say BJP, Congress, they all want to choose their own candidate. It cannot happen because the president cannot be 40% BJP, 30% Congress, 10% some other party. That's not possible. He or she is a full-fledged human being. That is why this system does not really work. If what happens? If we have only one seat available. I hope now it is understood. So this is called proportional representation. Now coming to something more unique and interesting called single transferable vote. So we saw in the ballot paper that you have to mark your preferences. Preferences have to be marked. And as I was also discussing that every voter gets these ballot papers. Voter is who? The MP or MLA, elected MP, elected MLA. Every voter gets this ballot paper and he has to mark his preference, his or her preference. Now, one preference marking is mandatory. If you don't mark any preference, your vote is cancelled. You may mark all the preferences. So think of this simple situation. Let's say you are going for the elections. There are three candidates. I'll take some examples. Candidate A is going to contest for the post of president. Candidate B is also going to contest for the post of president. And we have candidate C also contesting for the post of president. Okay, let's assume there are various voters. Voters with green. So voter 1 has a ballot paper. Voter 2 has a ballot paper. Voter 3 has a ballot paper. And voter 4 has a ballot paper. Various voters have ballot papers given. These are all voters. Say they are all voters. There is a voter P. You know the ballot paper, right? Name is mentioned A, B, C, and you have to mark your preference. Voter number Q. Contestant's name is mentioned. You have to mark the preference. R. Contestant's name is mentioned. You have to mark the preference. Say S. Contestant's name is mentioned, a candidate's name, and you have to mark the preference. I am voter P. I come here and I mark my preference. I say that C is my first choice. First choice. I want C to be the president of the country. But if C does not become the president, then maybe B. B is my second choice. If B also does not become the president, then A is my third choice. That is voter P's preference. Now voter Q gets a ballot paper. He says, my first choice is B. Second choice, no second choice. Third choice, no third choice. Only choice is B. I just want B to be the president of the country. Fair enough, your choice. R comes. R says, see, my first choice is A. My second choice is B. Any third choice? No third choice. Sorry, that's it. S comes. S is one amazingly educated MLA. He marks A my first choice, B my first choice. Both are my first choice. When the counting happens, this kind of voting that you have done, Mr. S has done, these are all cancelled votes. These kind of votes are cancelled. I hope this point is clear. Any kind of vote, this vote is declared void, cancelled. I mean, you have been told very clearly, choose one preference only. Don't give same preference to multiple people, right? So, any case, if you mark an unclear preference, use some other pen. Mind you, when you go to mark your preference, you are given a specific pen. You have to use that pen only to mark your preference. If you use some other pen to mark your preference, your vote is cancelled. Let's see. Let's say S's vote is cancelled. Some stupid fellow is there who did not even have the basic understanding of marking the preferences. Vote is cancelled. Now, we'll simply transfer all these votes to the respective candidates. This means what? This means that P's vote goes to C, yes or no, first preference. Q's vote goes to B, yes or no, first preference. R's vote goes to A, yes or no, first preference. Similarly, all the votes are sent to all those people who got that as a first preference. I hope this point is clear. Let us imagine very simple calculation. There are total 10,000 votes only. 10,000 votes. Candidate A has received 3 MP votes. 3 MP votes meaning 1 MP vote is 700 value. He has received 2 votes of MLA of Andhra Pradesh, 1 vote of MLA of Bihar, so on and so forth. All these votes he has received. Adding all these votes, the sum comes to 4,800 votes A has received in total. Okay. Similarly, B also receives 2 MP votes, 1 vote value is 700, 5 MLA votes, say of UP, 2 MLA votes, say of Karnataka, etc. And his sum total of all the votes he receives, say, comes at 47, sorry, let's assume it to be 4,500. 4,500. Okay. Now, candidate C has received only 1 vote, 1 MP vote. That's it. Nothing else. His sum comes to be how much? 700. This is all the votes that all of them have received. What is the total number of votes? 10,000. To be a winner, you have to receive 50% plus 1 votes. This is how winner is declared. Half of the votes plus 1. Half of the votes plus 1. Meaning what? To be a Winner, you have to receive 50% of 10,000 is how much? 5,000 plus 1, more than half, which makes it 5,001 votes. So any person who gets 5,001 votes is declared a winner. Tell me who is a winner? Candidate A gets 4,800 votes. Candidate B gets 4,500 votes. Candidate C gets 700 votes. Nobody is a winner. After the counting of all the preferences given, first preferences given, we find that nobody is a winner. Then what do we do now? No fresh voting takes place. In the same list of all these three people, we will eliminate the worst performer. Who is the worst performer? Let's see. Okay, black I think is visible. This person is eliminated. Let's use white only. Eliminated. Why is C eliminated? Because C is the worst performer. If C is eliminated out of the race, his vote has to be transferred. How? Who voted for C? P voted for C. Now look at this. P said C is my first choice. Yes or no? C is my first choice. But now C is voted out of the race because C is the worst performer. So this person is lost the race. Now P had said that if C does not become the president, my next choice is B. This means now B becomes the first preference and A becomes the second preference. I hope this point is clear. The vote of P has been transferred from C to B. Why? Because C was removed. This means this gets transferred here. This means now B has 4,500 plus 700, which is equal to 5,200 votes. To be declared a winner, how many votes are required? 5,001. B has how many votes? 5,200. So who is a winner? Therefore, we can simply say B is the winner. Are we clear on this? Everyone, I'll repeat this entire diagram step by step. This process will not be asked in the examination, but you should understand the transferability factor of it. There are three candidates, A, B, and C. These three candidates have contested elections, meaning they want to be the president of India. There are various voters. We have just, for example, shown 4 voters, P, Q, R, S. There could be multiple such voters, right? The total vote value of all the voters we have assumed is 10,000 only. To be a winner in the election of the president, you have to get more than half of the votes, meaning 50% plus 1 votes. That's how a winner is declared. Okay, that's there. Now, A, we have added all the votes that A received, and A got 4,800 votes. We added all the votes that B received. B got 4,500 votes. We added all the votes that C received. C received 700 votes. Right? Now, what has happened is, if you look at all the votes, 4,800, 4,500, 700, the winner could only be declared if he got 5,001 votes. So nobody is a winner right now. Nobody could get this absolute kind of majority immediately. So we have to go for second choice now. This means we have to cancel or we have to remove the person who was a worst performer. Candidate C was a worst performer. We're kicking out saying, sir, sorry, you have lost, you please leave. And all the votes that C received, we'll look into the votes. We will find out who got the second preference there. That becomes the first preference. We'll take those votes from C and give it to B and A, depending on what was the next preference. We here find that B gets the next preference here. Meaning what? B gets 700 votes more, making the total of votes for B to 5200, which is more than the required number, and hence B is declared the winner. That is why we call this a single transferable vote system. I hope now this point is clear. Of course, there could be multiple angles to it. We have taken a very simple idea. It's not 10,000 votes. It's more than 10 lakh votes. So many states are there. So many voters are there, right? So, of course, depending on this, we can simply enlarge the scale and we can have multiple propositions, permutations, combinations. If there are 20 candidates, B loses, C wins, hundreds of things can take place. This is just the most simplistic example or explanation to understand single transferable vote. Don't worry, this explanation will not be asked in the examination, and you will not be allowed to conduct elections for president's post till you maybe turn 60 years of age. When you are a secretary general of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, only then will you be allowed to contest or to be the returning officer, and then I am sure you will have a lot of expertise and you can very easily make basic calculations. It is all about calculation here. Find out the number of votes, add them. If somebody does not get more than 50%, remove the worst performer, go for second preferences, add them. As simple as that. That's it. Okay. So, yes, somebody says this much for calculation only for nominal head. What can we do? This is a process of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. I'll repeat one very important point. Please hear me out. Don't watch the cricket match right now. Hear me out. For the election of president, we follow a system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. However, in reality, this process does not really take place. Why? Because I have explained already why it does not happen in reality, even though on paper, in theory, this is what is written. And this is what we have to write. The election of president is held through the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. But it does not happen. And I tell you why. This we have understood. Even for single transferable vote, it never happens. You know, back in 1950s and 60s, lot of people used to contest elections. Lot of people, 30, 40 contestants would contest elections. I mean, most of them, nobody knew their name also. Even their neighbor did not know their name. Their spouse did not talk to them properly, but they would contest elections that I want to be the president of India. So it made sense. What if they got some votes? But nowadays what happens, only two people contest for the past 25, 30 years. One supported by BJP, one by Congress. That's it. Since there are only two people, somebody will get more than 50% votes and he or she will become the winner. That's it. That is why this system of transferable vote also does not work now. It is not required only. But in future, if we have a very effective multi-party system where there are multiple national parties, see, we may have national party in terms of criteria, right? But are those parties truly national? Not really. We can only say, in reality, as far as presence is concerned, that there are only two national parties which are truly national, BJP and Congress. other national parties like Aam Aadmi Party, BSP, NCP, CPI, MCPI, even NPP, these parties have become national parties just by fulfilling some criteria that is mentioned in the symbols rules made by Election Commission. But BJP and Congress are only two national parties in reality, which have a pan-India presence. That is why these parties normally pick a candidate and all other parties support these candidates only. For example, in the election recently, BJP and the supporting parties were behind Draupadi Murmu, and Congress chose Yashwant Sinha as the candidate, and all those parties which was there, they rallied behind Congress to support Yashwant Sinha. That is how it is. So this transfer of votes also does not really work in reality, sadly. That's the case. What can we do? But yes, and let me remind you, even though I am saying here that the BJP was supporting Draupadi Murmu does not belong to BJP. President is independent. At least we have to say so, right? Even though they may be supported by some party, we have to please be very sure that the president is independent of all these petty party politics. Okay, that is with respect to single transferable vote. I hope now this point is clear on proportional representation and single transferable vote, and also vote value. The formula for vote value is important. Now, coming to, we have already solved these two questions. Coming to a very basic issue that can crop up. What if there is some election dispute? What if there is some concern with respect to elections? Article 71 mentions the situation in case there is any election dispute. Let's say in this election only, Draupadi Murmu was declared the winner. But what if Yashwant Sinha says cheating has happened? You know how it is. When we lose, we will always say cheating has happened. Same thing. It can happen there also, right? What if there is some dispute? Wrong voting, wrong counting, cheating, possible. So, firstly, who can complain? And number two, who will decide? Who will settle the disputes? According to Article 71, election disputes can only be resolved by the Supreme Court of India. The authority having jurisdiction to try an election petition involving disputes pertaining to president's election as well as VP's election. President and vice president, both. Supreme Court decides. No other person, no other authority can decide on such election disputes. Are you clear? Not High Court, not lower court, not Election Commission, not God, nobody. Supreme Court. Supreme Court decides. It is the exclusive power of the Supreme Court. Are you clear? And number two, who can approach Supreme Court? Who can go to Supreme Court and say, sir, my lords, cheating has happened. Please help us out. What is happening? Of course, the candidate. Or candidates who have lost elections, they can go and say cheating. But apart from it, or can people go and complain? Can we go and complain? We can't. Electors can go and complain. Who are electors? Electors means voters. Who are the voters in this election? MPs, MLAs. The elected MPs, only they can go and complain. And that too, at least 20 electors are required. It could be 10 MPs, 10 MLAs, 5 MPs, 15 MLAs, 18 MPs, 2 MLAs, but at least 20 electors are required to go and complain. Only then will the complaint be heard. One MP goes to Supreme Court saying, "Sir, cheating has happened, my lord, please take the case." Supreme Court will say, "Get lost. You bring 19 more people with you, and then I'll accept the petition." And let's say now, if 20 MPs get up and go and say, "Sir, last election happened, in that cheating had happened. Yashwant Sinha was a real winner, but Draupadi Murmu has won the elections by cheating. Can you go now?" You can't go now. There is a time frame. You can only go and complain within 30 days of the date of publication of election result. Only within 30 days from the date of publication of result. That's it. So you can't go after 2 months, 2 years, or you can't go in 1970 election cheating happened. Please relax. Time is over. Within 30 days, you want to go and complain, please go and complain. Otherwise, time is over. So now you can't go and complain. I hope this point is clear. Okay, so this is with respect to Article 71. This article is very important, mind you. This article says that Supreme Court is the only authority which can look into any election dispute involving the president and the vice president. Okay, this was Article 71. And as far as the provisions are concerned, who can approach Supreme Court, or how many electors are required, all these things are mentioned in the Presidential and the Vice Presidential Elections Act. Nobody is going to ask you the acts and sections, and also don't worry on that. That's there. Now, I believe somebody had also asked this question: why is the election indirect? Of course. I mean, why don't we go out and vote rather than this complicated procedure? Single transferable vote, vote value, add the population, 1971 census, divide by MLAs, blah, 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 all this nonsense. We could simply have had a simple situation. People, let's go and vote. Whoever gets more than half the votes, winner. Possible, right? Ambedkar said, in fact, Nehru also approved it. And Ambedkar said that, we can't have frequent election in the country. Makes no sense. And Nehru said that, please, the president in our country is going to be a nominal head, right? This person is a nominal head. Why do you want to have elections in such an elaborate fashion? It will be a wastage of or expenditure, unnecessary expenditure of time and money. This expenditure is completely useless. Why? Because the president has no real powers. Every decision is made by the prime minister of the country. Am I clear on this? I will explain this point why. If I am making such an allegation against the president that he or she has no real powers, we have to justify it. We'll justify it today only, don't worry. But the whole point is that we have to understand that this particular procedure is indirect because the person has no real power. Why do you want to call all the people of the country, come on, let's go out and vote, and then we vote and choose somebody, and that person has no power only? Why will you vote? And think of it. If you have direct election in the country for the president, entire country votes. Don't you think we'll have two rival powers? Two rival powers. One is the prime minister, the other is the president. The PM will say, I have been chosen by my constituency, my party supports me. The president will say, what the hell is this? Entire country has voted for me, I am the real boss. Uselessly, two rival powers will be created. Because in a democracy, legitimacy is all that matters. That's the beauty of democracy or the big challenge, right? So if we use Ambedkar's words, Ambedkar was very angry on democracy in India and all, frankly. He said democracy in India is donkeys electing donkeys. A bit harsh, uh, not really far from truth, maybe, because in 1950s the education levels were not very high, so people were voting largely on caste and religion. In 2019, literacy is very high now. People are still voting on caste and religion. So that's a sad state of affairs. Slowly and steadily, a lot of people are focusing on development as well as an agenda, but that's there. Anyway, so legitimacy is what is important in democracy. That is extremely important. If you have the will of the people behind you, you are the real power. Useless creation of rival powers who will be fighting. Number three, when you see all these politicians go to various rallies and they say, Mitro, how much money do you want? You vote for me, I'll build roads and bridges. So all these all these promises that the politicians give in the election, how are they able to give these promises or make these promises? Because once elected to power, they may fulfill these promises, may fulfill them. Whether they do it or not is secondary, but they have the power to fulfill these promises. Suppose we have direct elections. The president goes to seek the votes. On what basis is he going to ask for votes? What will they say? He has no power. Even if they come to power and be a president, they have no real power. All the powers with the prime minister. What can he promise? He can only say, please vote for me. I dress very well. Please vote for me. Uh, I belong to a poor family. Indian Idol kind of voting. Or please vote for me. If you vote for me, if I win, I'll allow free entry into Rashtrapati Bhavan. You can come every Sunday, have a tea with me. This is what you can promise. Because you cannot promise anything substantial, because you don't have real powers only. So why do we want to have elections in the first place? Such an election would be contested on personal issues, no real promises. And lastly, not to demean the procedure, but please understand, elections are not, uh, I mean, election as an entire procedure is where you have to employ all the tricks of the trade. You have to make statements, appease the public, right? Bow down to people when the time comes, make statements, change statements, take a stand, take a position, take a stance, change the position, change the stance, right? It's how we say raise the standards and then double standards. That's why we keep on changing our stand and position all. So we want somebody to head the entire country, somebody who is a true statesman, right? A true national leader who can rise above party politics and be neutral in the country. That is why we don't want the president to go and seek votes. Don't campaign. It will not look nice. President says, please vote for me, please vote for me. No, no, sir. You are the president. Don't go and seek votes. You are above any party politics. That is our expectation. So this is all expectation. What happens in reality is separate. But we want somebody who could rise above this petty party politics and be the true leader, the true statesman that the country needs or even deserves. That is why the elections are indirect. Okay, that's it. Now, there are some other requirements also. To give you a simple example, let's say UPSC. Every year, uh, around 10-11 lakh people fill up the forms. And a lot of you who will go and take the examination, say at the center, prelims examination, you will find that half of the seats are vacant only. Seats in the prelims examination, in your examination hall, will be vacant. Why? The candidate did not come to for the election, for the prelims. Why? See, filling up UPSC form is the country's national pastime. Okay. You were caught by the traffic constable, you come back home very angry. I have to fill up the form, I have to teach him a lesson. You saw some movie, Singham, right? Or Encounter Shankar or whatever. You say, oh, I have to be the IPS officer, harass everybody. Your neighbor is disturbing you, IPS officer. It's a country's pastime. Form is free for a lot of people, 100 rupees. Everybody fills up the form. And then we go and see the syllabus. And then you say, oh, syllabus is too much. Because it is not as easy as they show in the movies and all, right? Because in the movies, they won't show how much we have to study to become the IPS officer. I remember this movie. I think there's a Tamil movie. I don't know the pronunciation of it. And it was also remade into Telugu, starring Nagarjuna's son. And this was a movie where this actor's name is Rajnikant, and then he gets affected. Some issue happens in his life and all, and then cut to the next scene. They show that he becomes an IPS officer and comes back directly as an IPS officer after 2 years. This is not how it happens, right? This is not how easy it is. Or this Hindi movie starring Rajkumar Rao, where he is cheated by his supposedly going to be wife, and then cut to 2 years later, he's an IS officer, district magistrate. I wish it was this easy. A lot of people fill up the form, right? But then why does UPSC have prelims? Prelims is not selection, it is actually rejection. Prelims is a rejection of all the useless people. Now, of course, some sincere people will also get rejected because seats are limited, but largely prelims is basically a rejection examination where non-serious aspirants are largely rejected. Of course, some serious will also get rejected. That's true because of the fierce competition. That's it. Similarly, back in 90s, 50s, 1960s, in our country, 30, 40 people would contest elections. Election Commission had to make a huge ballot paper, 40 names. And most of these people would not get a single vote. Zero votes. Zero votes. What's the point? So it makes no sense. So some criteria are also there in order for you to contest elections. If you want to contest elections, there are two criteria. Very, very important criteria. Number one, you have to get 50 electors as proposers and 50 electors as seconders. This is the most difficult criteria. Who is a proposer? Who are electors? MP, MLA. Now think of this. In case you want to contest the election of the president, when you file your nomination paper, meaning you file your form, you have to get the sign of 50 MPs or MLAs that they approve, they propose your name. Proposers are people who propose the name. Approve, or let's use the word support. The candidature. "50 MPs, 50 MLAs. Can a common man ever think of getting a sign of 1 MP MLA? Forget 50 MPs MLAs. And not just this. Another 50 electors, meaning 50 MPs or MLAs, any combination, they have to be seconders. Who are seconders? Seconders are those people who approve the name proposed. Meaning, proposer says, I want Mr. A to be the president. I propose his name. Seconder says, yes, yes, I also agree with proposer. I am seconding his name. That's called a seconder. Meaning 100 different MPs and MLAs have to sign on a piece of paper, 50 proposing your name, another 50 approving the proposal. 100 signs. Can a normal human being in this country get the sign of 1 MP or MLA also? Can we even meet our MP MLAs? Forget getting 100 signs. It's not easy. Wait, forget easy. Easy is the wrong word. It's impossible. That is why only politicians are able to contest elections. Right? I hope now you have understood the situation that we require 100 people to sign. Okay. Secondly, now this is the real criteria. And in fact, most of the rejections take place on this criteria only. Most rejections take place on this criteria only. See, we have always had competition in elections happening. But to tell you a very interesting fact, there was once a president, former, or rather the first chief, people of Andhra Pradesh would know this person. So when Andhra state in 1953 became Andhra Pradesh with Malabar and Madras province areas and all, Andhra Pradesh in 1956, the first ever CM was Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. NS Reddy later on became the president of India also. And a very unique distinction he holds is that Neelam Sanjeev Reddy only president to get elected unopposed. He was a president in 1977 after Janata Party came to power and continued till 1982. I mean, there were, I think, 37 people who contested elections, including him. All other 36 people, their form was cancelled because of lack of nomination paper, etc. Only he survived. Only person, no opposition only. No elections took place. Directly victory. The only ever Indian president to be elected unopposed was Neelam Sanjeev Reddy. Anyway, and before being the president, he was a speaker of Lok Sabha. He resigned, became the president. Anyway, apart from this, in case you want to contest elections, you also have to give some security money. Remember in your college days, school days, the school and the college people keep the security money, or your PG, your flat, they keep security money, and they will not give that money very easily. Same now. Here, it's government. You get the money very easily. Don't worry. But in case you want to contest election for the post of president, you have to give 15,000 rupees. Huge amount, 15,000 rupees. But anyway, you have to give 15,000 rupees either in the form of cash when you're going to file your nomination paper, or in the form of some kind of check or demand draft, or you submit to RBI. Okay, 15,000 rupees and get a receipt from there. Now, if you are able to get 1/6 of the votes required to win the election, but even though you lose the election, but you get at least 1/6 votes, your money is returned to you. Okay, take it, go back. Lost, no problem, take it. But if you performed so poorly that you did not even get 1/6 of the votes required to win, then we will take away that money and the money goes away. It goes to government. So, security deposit of rupees 15,000 with RBI. It is forfeited if the candidate is unable to get 1/6 of the votes required to win the election. This is why these are some conditions that are there to ensure that the electoral procedure only involves serious candidates. To remove non-serious candidates, we have these provisions. I mean, 15,000 is not a big amount, but the first provision is a very serious one. I mean, imagine 100 signs and all. Come on, let's be realistic. Nobody can get 100 signatures, right? uh, Chaitanya, he lost to, yes, Chaitanya. Earlier, he lost to VV Giri when Indira Gandhi was the prime minister, because Indira Gandhi did not like him. That is why. Yes, Hussain, no giving chance to common people. See, this is how it is. In fact, lot of people have gone to Supreme Court also to challenge this. Why do I need 100 signatures and all? It is not required. But Supreme Court has cancelled all their petitions, saying no, the law is a law. If 100 signs are required, it will be required. That's there. Imagine if in UPSC the same criteria comes, that in order to fill up the form, you have to get the sign of 10 current IAS officers. Thankfully, such criteria is not there for UPSC. Okay. Real issues point. See, Shashi, the real issues point, as I said, the previous point was that basically, whenever anyone wants to win the election and all, you have to make some promises. Why would I vote for you? I mean, in general, it is believed that people vote if I have something to offer, like building a bridge, road, etc. But if I have nothing to offer, right, then why will people vote for me? That is why the president's case. The president cannot offer anything because he has no powers only. What will he offer? That is why such elections will only take place on personal matters. President can only say, please, 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 vote for me, please. Last request. I'm such a nice person. I smile very nicely. But somebody who is going to be a prime minister can vote on hundreds of things, can claim hundreds of things. Please vote for me. If you vote for me, every account will get 15 lakh rupees. Maybe, maybe. That's what somebody can also claim. So that's there. Okay, so that's there with other conditions. Now, coming to the second module, qualifications. Qualifications for the post of president. Article 58 mentions the qualification. See, for UPSC and all, you have to study so much, you have to be a graduate, you have to have 50-55% marks in graduation, and all that drama is there, right? Then prelims, mains, so much of examination. To be the president of India, what is the qualification? You have to be a citizen of India, and the minimum age is 35 years. That's it. That's it. No educational qualifications. Should you be a graduate? We don't know. Not required. Anything. Apart from it, please hear me out. Anyone who wants to contest elections for president, he or she should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. Not be a member. If you are a member of Lok Sabha or Vidhan Sabha, you have to resign from your seat. But you should be qualified to be an MP of Lok Sabha. Qualified to be an MP. What is the meaning of this term? This actually means that your name should be in the voter list of any Lok Sabha constituency. Name should be in the voter list of any parliamentary constituency. What is the meaning of this? So all those people here, most of you are 18 years old, your name must be there in some voter list of Lok Sabha. Meaning, when you go to vote in your polling booth, the presiding officer has a list, and your name is there in the voter list, right? And that is why you can vote in the elections. Similarly, if you want to contest for the post of president, your name should be in the voter list of any constituency anywhere in the country. Meaning, you should be an eligible voter in the country. That's it. That's the only qualification. Eligible to be a voter. Is this some qualification? Age 35 and citizen of India. Whether you're born in India or born outside India does not matter. If at this point of time you are an Indian citizen, you are allowed to contest elections. That's it. No problem. One more thing, you should not hold any office of profit from the government, center or state government. Now, what is office of profit? We'll discuss during the chapter Parliament. I'll just explain very quickly. Office of profit basically means any post where appointment, removal is being done by the government, or government pays salary, or you are performing government's functions, or government has control over the performance of your functions. This is called an office of profit. For example, IAS officer. Who appoints IAS officer? Government. Office of profit. Look at me as a faculty at Byju's. Who has appointed me? Byju's. Government did not appoint me. Who can remove me? Byju's. Government cannot. Is government paying me salary? Of course not. Byju's is paying me salary after you have paid all the fees and all. What I teach in the class is my prerogative. Government has no control over my functions. Government cannot give me directions. In the class, please praise the government. Please sing songs of glory for the government. They can't do it. They may tell me, I will not do it. So my post is not an office of profit. So office of profit basically means any post where the appointment is made by government, removal can be done by government, salary is paid by government, government controls your functions, or you are performing some government function. If I get a government contract to build a road, I am performing government function of building a road. That can be called office of profit. So anybody who wants to be the president of India cannot hold any office of profit. Discussions in detail later on under the chapter Parliament. However, president, vice president, governors, ministers, they are allowed to contest. If you are a governor in some state, if you are minister, central government, state government, you can contest election of president. That's allowed. Okay. So that is with respect to the qualification as far as the president is concerned. Now, oath. So every person who becomes a president has to take an oath, and mind you, the oath is administered by the Chief Justice of India, not the Vice President. Chief Justice of India. What is meant by administering the oath? Somebody will read the oath and you will read the oath along with the person. That is called administering the oath. Like here, you see, this was the Chief Justice of India, the 48th Chief Justice, N.V. Ramana, and the current 15th President of India, Srimati Draupadi Murmu. So he was reading the oath. What is the oath? This is the oath. I, AB. AB means the name. Do swear in the name of God or solemnly affirm. If you don't believe in God, you can simply say, I solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the president or discharge the function of the president and will to the best of my ability. Very important. Please read the word. Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. It is the constitutional obligation on the president to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. Right? And the law. And that I will devote myself to the service and well-being of the people of India. This is the oath that the president takes. This oath is mentioned under Article 60 of the Indian Constitution. I hope this point is clear. Nothing to elaborate here. 10. Conditions of office. Now, you are the President of India, right? Some benefits, some advantages. So, when you will become the IAS officer in future, you will also get the big bungalow that you see in your city right now. As a district magistrate, you'll get that DM's bungalow, SP's bungalow, free of cost, full enjoyment, right? Similarly, now here it's the President of India. So he is entitled without payment of rent to the use of the official residence, Rashtrapati Bhavan. This is just one room in Rashtrapati Bhavan, just one room. Of course, without the payment of rent. If we ask him or her to pay the rent, the next 10 generations will keep on paying rent only. It's so costly. So free, full enjoyment. Now, very important. Salaries and allowances are determined by the parliament. So the president, whatever salary he gets is determined by the parliament. This condition of office. So president as of now gets a salary of 5 lakh rupees per month, not annum. This is not some annual package. Engineers, please. Rupees 5 lakhs per month or per mensum. Mensum means month. And yes, please don't ask this question. Sir, will he pay or she pay income tax? Everybody has to pay income tax, even the president. So please don't fall prey to this WhatsApp forward that president will not pay income tax. Every person pays income tax. I hope this point is clear, including the president. Anyway, second point is important. Her emoluments, emolument means salary, and allowances are charged on consolidated fund of India and cannot be diminished during his or her term of office. Now there are two things here. One is, of course, what the hell is this CFI and what do you mean by charged? I'll explain both of them one by one. Don't worry. Okay. First up is funds, CFI. So let us also understand one very important point here. We'll just digress a bit and look into some accounts of government. I hope you all have your own bank accounts, which are linked to some Google Pay, Phone Pay, Paytm, whatever. Similarly, the government also has account. After all, government has to keep money, right? It gets money from taxes, revenue generation, loans, etc. It has to keep money somewhere, right? So government also has some funds or accounts where they keep their money. There are three accounts of the government. One is the most important, the biggest of all accounts, that is the Consolidated Fund of India, CFI. This is mentioned under Article 266, Clause 1. Okay, one more thing here. I am mentioning these articles. Not every article is important, number one. Towards the end of our module, I'll tell you which articles are important. And secondly, don't feel that, oh, I do not remember these articles. It's okay. You are reading these for the first time. You won't remember it. Trust me on this. It will take 4 to 5 revisions and then you will remember all these articles. Don't worry. Don't worry at all. It is just the first time. Let's not have unreasonable expectations from ourselves. Okay. CFI. And the same article also is meant for states also. For states also, every state, in fact, whichever state you belong to, whether you are from MP, Chhattisgarh, Assam, Mizoram, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, does not really matter. Every state has its own account called CFS, Consolidated Fund of the State. Okay. Major account. It is this account, this fund, to which all the receipts are credited, meaning every piece of money that the government makes, whether it is through revenue received, taxation, loans raised by the government, all money received by the government in repayment of loan, any money that the government receives, it all comes into CFI only. Same goes for state government. Every single penny the state government receives, like say excise, right? Every excise tax money that the state government receives, excise on alcohol and all. So the more you drink alcohol, the more your state becomes rich. So keep on drinking to enrich your state. Don't. I am not advising you to drink and all, please. Just an example. So the more taxes we pay, the more revenue is generated, CFI increases. And it is this CFI only from where all the money is also debited. See, all the legally authorized payments on behalf of Government of India are made out of this fund. It is the receipt, so it is the account, all receipts are credited and all payments are debited. So budget, such a grand exercise. You must have studied the budget recently. All this money being spent in various schemes, right? Amrit Mahotsav and all. Where is the money being spent from? Where is the money kept? CFI. CFI is where all the money comes in CFI is where all the money goes out from. Are you clear on this? Secondly, this is the money that the government controls, right? You have to be very clear on understanding one important element here. This money is left for the government to spend. But can we really trust the government? Allow them to spend money at whim and fancy without any check? Of course not. Letting our politicians waste our money without any check. I mean, that's unthinkable. So, of course, when the government wants to take out a single rupee also from CFI, single rupee also, they have to take the permission of the parliament. That is why budget has to be approved by the parliament. Right now, in the month of March, uh, just sorry, tomorrow only, we'll have the parliamentary session again, and we'll have the MPs voting on various expenditures by the government. We'll discuss budget passage later on. So every money you take out from CFI is approved by the parliament. Without parliament's permission, you cannot take out money only from CFI. Not allowed only. No money out of this fund can be appropriated. Appropriate means withdraw, to withdraw money. So no money can be appropriated, can be withdrawn, except in accordance with a parliamentary law. So parliament's permission is required. Mind you, please don't forget this. Parliament's permission is required to debit, take out money from CFI. Like your permission is required, your PIN is required to take money out of your account, your GPay account, or to take out money from ATM, your PIN code is required. That is how. Okay. So this is called the CFI. And see, CFI is not in just one account somewhere. It's not all the money is parked in the garden of Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister. Of course not. This money is placed in various banks only across the country. Wherever government's money is kept, it is considered to be a part of CFI. I hope this point is clear. For example, in future, some of you here will become district magistrates. Now, let's say you are a DM, and in your state, in your district, you have to devolve some funds for improving condition of schools or Narega funds. 10 crore rupees are sent to you. That money has to be given to schools to purchase new computers. Okay. Where do you keep the money? In your own account? Don't do it. If you keep that money in your own account, it is called criminal misappropriation. Under the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988, you will go to jail, and it can be up to 10 years of jail. So please don't keep the money in your own account to earn interest and all. You have to open a separate account in the government's name and keep the money there. That account is also under CFI only. That's also a part of CFI. This is what is called CFI, Consolidated Fund of India, and the same article is for the states also. Okay, and no money can be taken out except the parliament's permission. This is actually an article, same article, 266 clause 3. Okay. This is CFI. Now beyond this, we have something called PAI, Public Accounts of India. As the name suggests, public account, our money. So you see all these schemes government runs, schemes like Atal Pension Yojana, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, or the Provident Fund, PPF account. So when the government opens these accounts for people, we can invest our money and keep it there. We can save our money. And when we want, we can take the money out. We can end or close the account. It is our money. We keep it with the government. Government can use the money. and gives us interest also on that. So this is called public account of India. So all other public money, other than those which are credited to the CFI, they are received, which are received on the behalf of government, they are kept in PAI, Article 266, Clause 2. 266, Clause 2. So any money, and same for states also, any money that the government receives on people's behalf, keeps it for a temporary period, people's money is kept in PAI. Now, please understand. Let's say you have opened a provident fund account, PPF account. You are saving money every year, 1 lakh rupees, 1 lakh rupees. You want to get married 10 years later, or maybe you want to get your son, daughter married. You know, today's day and age, destination weddings are the new theme of discussion. Even the PM has made an observation on this. So people want a grand and elaborate wedding ceremony, wedding photo shoot, pre-wedding, post-wedding, hundreds of things are there, right? So let's say you are planning to spend money on your kid's marriage in future, and you start saving it now only. Let's say after 15 years, you want to close the account. Do you think the parliament will sit in the Lok Sabha and Raj Sabha and they'll pass the proposal that Mr. ABC wants to get married? Please pass the proposal. Really? Of course not. This is our money only. So every day, hundreds and not hundred, lakhs and lakhs of accounts are opened and closed. Parliament has no interest in all this because such payments are in the nature of banking transaction. This account is operated by an executive action, meaning government operates the account. No need for parliamentary approval. If you want to open a PF account, go to a nearby bank, fill up a form, and the bank will take the money and send to the government. You want to close it, go to same bank, fill up a form, government sends money, bank sends money to government official, some treasury department official, he'll sign, account is closed, you get the money back. No need for parliament to sit and pass a proposal. Let's be realistic. So money from PAI is taken out by executive order, government order. Money from CFI is taken out through a legislative order, parliamentary law. Difference should be clear. These are two mandatory accounts of the government. Mandatory account. Okay. However, now think of this situation. Pandemic happened, or Pakistan is at the brim and wing of how do I say, disaster. It's very close to its demise, considering the situation in the recent times. You know very well. Now imagine Pakistan says, we want to attack India. Or tomorrow China says, I'm attacking India. Now let's say we want to purchase some weapons. Okay. Now, if you want to purchase weapons, you have to spend money from CFI. But CFI money requires parliamentary approval. Wars happen immediately. We can't wait. MPs, come on, come to Delhi. MPs are coming in trains and aeroplanes and cars and buses, traveling, running after 15 days. We want immediate money. I mean, yes, approval you can take, but right now let me spend money, right? So think of this, that your parents have given you money to spend, but let's say something happens. You were celebrating your friend's birthday, and at night on the road only, birthday bumps and all, full drunk. The police comes, says, "Come on, let's take you to an amazing place called police station." Now there, you won't get your parents' approval immediately. You'll firstly pay the money, right? Whatever money is there, and then later on borrow, beg, and steal, and then later on tell your parents, see, I want more money because I had to spend the money because police caught me. So, same thing. In times of contingency, Contingency means some unforeseen circumstance. It could be a pandemic. It could be a pandemic. It could be a war, etc. Earthquake. Government has to spend money immediately. They can. For that, the government is allowed to create an account called contingency fund. So this is not mandatory. It may be created. And government has created it. They passed a law called Contingency Fund of India Act 1950, and now we have a law which creates an account called Contingency Fund. This money is kept at the disposal of the president. President has this money. So as of now, currently as we speak, this account has around 30,000 crore rupees. 30,000 crores. Increased from, so earlier this account only had 500 crore rupees. 500 crores in 2022. So last year only we increased the amount, and now contingency fund has 30,000 crore rupees at any given point of time. And of course, money comes from where? CFI. Now, these terms you'll be studying in budget class. When I will discuss not the budget, but how the budget is passed in the parliament, then we'll discuss that. These terms, as of now, not required. So, this money is kept with the president. But let me clarify here. Don't think that the president can spend money from here. President has no power. This money is actually spent with the permission of the Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs, the Finance Secretary, or the Secretary in the Department of Economic Affairs. Ministry of Finance. So Ministry of Finance has 6 different departments. One such department is Department of Economic Affairs. Whoever is the IAS officer there, he controls this money. Somebody from amongst you only. Eventually, once you become the senior most IAS officer, secretary is the senior most IAS officer in the ministry. You will get to spend up to 30,000 crore rupees. Of course, the minister will guide you. But we say formally that it is in your name. Remember in our back in the old days when we were small kids, all these relatives would come to our house and would give us 500 rupees, 100 rupees, etc. You'd be very happy, keep the money. But as soon as relative left our house, our moms would pounce and keep the money and say, "Don't worry, I am keeping it. It's your money only. I am keeping it." Same thing here. We tell the president, "Sir, it's your money, ma'am, it's your money. It's just that finance secretary is keeping it. Don't worry." But actually, the expenditure is done by the finance secretary only, meaning government only. But officially, we say the president keeps this money. Okay. One more thing. See, contingency fund does not mean you keep on spending money like this only. When you spend money, right now you can spend money. But after spending money, you have to get the permission of the parliament. So eventually, here also, ultimately, parliament's permission is required. The only difference is that here, approval is post expenditure. In CFI, approval is pre-expenditure. But without Parliament's approval, you can't spend money from contingency fund also. Right now you spend it, but later on when you have spent it, you have to ultimately get the approval of Parliament. You may say that, sir, money spent only. Parliament has to approve. Of course, they have to approve. But the check is there that you wasted money. So Parliament can check and question that, see, government is wasting money here and there uselessly. That is there. So even here, money is spent after, or money is spent with Parliament's permission only. Yes, the permission is after expenditure. That's there. So this is the contingency fund of India, Article 267. Same goes for state also, plus state. And this is, as I said, optional. You may create, you may not create, but we have actually created one. And the article is Article 267, Clause 1. By the way, let me just remind you, we were discussing CFI, PAI because of the president's salary. Before that, coming here now I hope you know what is CFI. What is CFI? CFI is the Consolidated Fund of India, meaning the president's salary comes from CFI. In fact, your salary also comes from CFI, don't worry. And cannot be diminished during his term of office, meaning what? Whatever salary we have promised the president, you cannot reduce the salary. If today we have told Srimati Draupadi Murmu that we are going to offer you a salary of 5 lakhs per month, we can't reduce it. Sorry, we have to pay her the salary. Maybe the next president can get a lesser salary, but we cannot reduce the salary of the current president. We have to give the salary that we have promised. Whatever has been promised will have to be given. Now, as I said, under CFI, whatever money you spend has to be evaluated by the Parliament. CFI, all appropriation, withdrawal of money is done only after Parliament passes the proposal, right? But there are some expenditures where no need for voting. Directly pass it. It has to be approved. Those things are called charged expenditure. So, charged expenditure basically refers to that expenditure where no voting is allowed. You can only discuss it. And this must be passed. So every year in the budget, there are some things called charge expenditure. You can discuss it, but it has to be approved. Charge expenditure is the salary of the president, salary of vice president, salary of presiding officer, salary of Supreme Court judges, salary of High Court judges, all the loan repayment that government has taken. What is there to discuss in that? You have to approve it. Even if Congress government took some loan from, say, IMF, ADB, etc., BJP government has to return those loans. You can't say, oh, you go and talk to Sonia Gandhi, she took the loan. No, government took the loan. So every such loan that you take, interest repayment, all this is charge expenditure. You have to spend the money. So there is no voting there. Directly approval. That is what is called charged expenditure, meaning no voting, only discussion. I hope this point is clear. Okay, so these are the three accounts we have, and this is with respect to the salary of the Indian president. So we have CFI, which is the biggest account, and we have contingency fund. Money in the contingency fund comes from CFI only. At regular intervals, money is taken from contingency CFI and put in contingency fund, so that the government gets to spend money if there is some urgent need for it, right? And then we have the PAI, Public Accounts of India, which is our money only, so it is operated through executive action. That's all as far as the accounts are concerned. Solve a question quickly and then we'll take a break. 30 seconds should be sufficient. 80% got this answer right. Very good. The authorization for the withdrawal of funds from the CFI comes from Parliament of India. What is the article? 266 clause 3 is the article. Look at this here. No money out of this fund can be appropriated except in accordance with a parliamentary law. Right answer is B, Parliament of India. Great. That's all as far as our discussion is concerned. Let's take a break, a short break of 10 to 12 minutes. We'll be back at 4:10 and we'll continue our discussion further. Break, please. Okay, so welcome back. Ranjan, why budget is discussed although it is in CFI? Uh, budget is discussed because without discussion, how will the MPs vote on it, right? So CFI does not mean no discussion and no voting. CFI only means voting and discussion. Only if the expenditure is charged expenditure on CFI, then no voting, only discussion. Arjun, who gives permission for withdrawal of from contingency fund? Arjun, the permission is given by the, as I said, secretary in the Department of Economic Affairs. Now, see, there is a lot of intricacy involved here. First 40%, the money can be spent by Department of Expenditure Secretary after the approval of Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs. Remaining 60% on the permission of Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs. That is why, to avoid that, we simply say the permission to spend money from contingency fund comes from the Secretary of Department of Economic Affairs. That's it. As simple as that. Okay. Shalu, proportional representation in respect to value of vote. Yes, yes, that's correct. I won't say value of vote. I will say the value that you hold in the total population. In the total value, whatever percentage your vote value holds, that is called proportional representation. Basavraj, government salaries, which fund? CFI. Every money, every expenditure is done from CFI only. Yes, yes, Yamini, state and center, two different accounts. Nothing is common. States have their own account, center has its own account. Shalu, sir, qualified to become a member of Lok Sabha means qualification or only that is registered voter? Registered voter here, because all other qualifications are exactly the same except age. So voter qualifications. First point of contingency fund. Oh, Vipin, PM cares. PM cares comes under CFI only. Where did first point? PM cares comes under CFI only. Initially, the government said that PM cares is not a part of government only. Thankfully, it has said that PM cares comes under the control of government, but it comes under CFI. Money is kept in CFI only because it is not our money, na. We have given the money; it is gone. We can't claim it back. It is established under the law. See, contingency fund, creating this fund is optional. So, we have created this fund by passing a law. This law called Contingency Fund of India Act has created an account or a fund called Contingency Fund for India, where money can be kept and spent, after which we can get the Parliament's approval. Shivang, salary of president, no voting. I mean, it has to be passed directly. So no voting to reduce it. AAP government free light fund, it's not free. See, understand it. Every penny that the government spends, giving subsidies, giving some kind of infrastructural proposals, anything and everything comes from CFI only. So for the AAP government in Delhi, it will come from CFS, the Consolidated Fund of Delhi government. Everything, Yamini, CFI, every expenditure that you just saw the budget, right, in your economics classes, every penny spent comes from CFI. CFI is the only money that the government has. Money for PAI and contingency comes from CGI, or this money is different? No, money from PAI is people's money. It has no relationship to CFI. Money from CFI, contingency fund, comes from CFI. Yes, yes, public money, Shalu. Salary of CEC should also be charged. Chaitanya, Supreme Court's judgment, right? It says it should ideally be charged. No such change has been made as of now. Difference between CFI and CSI. CFI is for the center, CSI is for the state. Yes, yes, field account can be opened. Don't worry. where voting of president takes place in respective state, in the respective state legislative assemblies. National Investment Fund in which disinvestment amount getting is CFI. Shivang, salary is determined by the parliament. The point is, we have fixed a salary. So parliament passes a law to fix the salary. There is basically the provision that parliament will fix the salary. But once you have fixed the salary, every year money has to be taken out. Approval has to be given that this year we'll give the president 60 lakh rupees. That approval in the budget, that cannot be voted upon. Okay, that is a difference. Okay, I hope your points are now resolved. Let's allowance. Allowance basically means all the perquisites, perks, petrol allowance, mobile phone bill, internet bill, allowances in the form of a cook, in the form of a gardener, any kind of carpenter. Don't worry, you'll also get all these allowances. Be happy. Once you're an IS officer, you'll get a cook, you'll get a driver, you'll get a carpenter, you'll get a gardener, whatnot. So much money will be spent on you. Yes, Shiva, if a new proposal is there, we have to get it passed by the parliament. Okay. So we are discussing all these accounts. Just think of one simple funda. Government has only one account called CFI. Everything is spent from there only. But if there is an urgent need, we have created a separate urgent account, which is called contingency fund, from where immediately we can spend money. Later on, get it approved. PAI is our money. Government has no control over it in the sense that it is not government's money. We deposit our money with the government. Government gives us interest on that money. Government can use that money for various purposes, and that's how it is there. Both parties are happy. Okay. Now, while we are discussing president's salary, one more point. President's salary is actually mentioned in Schedule 2. Schedule 2 comprises of names of certain people whose salaries are mentioned there. Schedule 2 of the Indian Constitution contains a list of dignitaries whose salaries are mentioned here. And let me repeat, Schedule 2 of the Indian Constitution contains a list of dignitaries, and only these dignitaries' salary is mentioned in this schedule, nobody else. So under Schedule 2 of the Indian Constitution, you will find the mention of the salary of the President of India, salary of Governor of India, all the governors of the states, salary of presiding officers of union and state legislatures, meaning presiding officer of the Lok Sabha, presiding officer of Rajya Sabha, presiding officer of the Assembly, presiding officer of the Council, all these people. Then judges of High Court and Supreme Court, and the CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General. In Schedule 2 of the Indian Constitution, only these people's salaries are mentioned, nobody else. Is the salary of Chief Election Commissioner mentioned in Schedule 2? It is not mentioned. Is the salary of member of UPSC mentioned here? Not mentioned. Is the salary of Prime Minister mentioned here? Not mentioned. Okay. One more thing, you may ask a question, sir, where is the salary of Vice President? VP salary is mentioned indirectly because VP is the presiding officer of Rajya Sabha, and that is why their salary is also mentioned. And just to tell you, salary of president is how much? 5 lakhs per month. Salary of VP is how much? Nobody is going to ask you a question on this, don't worry. 4 lakhs. In case you want to use this to impress somebody, use it. Salary of governors, 3.5 lakhs. Salary of presiding officers varies from state to state. Salary of judges of High Court and Supreme Court. Slight difference. Chief Justice of India gets a salary of 2.85 lakh rupees per month. Other Supreme Court judges, they get a salary of 2.5 lakh rupees per month. Chief Justice of High Court gets a salary of 2.5 lakh rupees. Judges of High Court get a salary of 2.25 lakh rupees. And CAG gets a salary same as Supreme Court judge, which is how much? 2.5 lakh rupees. Don't worry, nobody's going to ask you a question on this. Okay. Now, just to showcase this example here, see, second schedule, Article 59, conditions of service, salary. 65 is for vice president and all. There shall be paid to president and the governors of states the following emoluments per mensum. Mensum means month. The president, 10,000 rupees. Of course, this is the original constitution, not right now. 10,000 right now, seriously, not possible. So it was originally. Now they are getting 5 lakh rupees per month. It's a pretty decent salary. I mean, considering the fact that they have to spend nothing, everything is free. So it's okay. It's a nice salary. Of course, this is the highest salary. Even if you become an IS officer and all, the topmost IS officers get 2.5 lakh rupees per month only. Legally, right? Officially. Otherwise, it's your skill and talent. Who knows how much money you'll make? So that's it. Now coming to term of president's office. What is a term of president's office? We know very well that tenure is 5 years. Let me clarify one more thing. This tenure is mentioned under Article 56. Okay. These articles not really important. Now, in our country, there is no limit to how many times somebody can become the president of India. Now, I'm sure most of you would know this, that in USA, unlike in USA, maximum how many terms? 2 terms. 2 terms only. That's the limit. Nobody can become the president more than 2 terms. This was done recently only. In 1951, there was an amendment done called the 22nd Amendment Act in the US Constitution, not in Indian Constitution, where the limit was set to 2. Why? Just before that, during the intermittent phase of First and Second World War, we had the very famous Democratic president, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Roosevelt became the president 4 times. I mean, he won the election 4 times continuously. He died in his 4th term. So once he died, people thought, by if a single person becomes the president for 16 years, when will others get a chance? That's why limit to 2. In India, there is no such limit. You are eligible for re-election any number of times. There is no limit. In India, no limit. And this is also mentioned under Article 57. But interestingly, only one person has been the president more than once, Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So, as a matter of custom and convention in our country, custom, we only give you one chance. Become for 5 years, go enjoy. That's it. We don't repeat. So, as a tradition or convention, just once. Okay. In fact, there's a very interesting anecdote here. So, a lot has now come out in the open about Nehruji's policy and a lot of the wrong decisions he took. See, of course, that's there. I mean, if you, that is why Ambedkar very rightfully had said in his last speech in the Constituent Assembly, where he was giving his formal speech, he had given some very important caveats. Ambedkar had said one very interesting thing. He had said, in politics, we should avoid hero worship. No hero worship in politics. Because politicians are human beings. They are susceptible to all the follies that people make. You can't worship them. You have to question them. So, originally, we were obsessed with worshipping these leaders. That became a problem. Now we are more open to critically evaluating their decisions. That is why we also question the decisions taken by Nehru or Gandhiji for that matter. We also now seemingly are more appreciative of Ambedkar's opinion or Patel's opinion, right? So things modify and improve, of course. Anyway, so Nehru was largely a left wing leader and he was deeply inspired by communist ideologies also. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the very first president of India, he was slightly conservative, a right winger. So these two people never saw eye to each other. Never. What happened was, after two terms, so Dr. Prasad, our first president, became the president twice, 1952 and 1957. 5 years, 1962, his term was coming to an end. So somebody told Nehru that Dr. Prasad is looking to appear for the third time also, contest for the third time also. Now, Nehru wanted some fresh face in the parliament, in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He asked one of his ministers to bring a bill to limit the number of terms somebody could become the president to only two. Because just 7-8 years back or 10 years back, USA had also made a provision like this. Dr. Prasad came to know that Nehru is planning to bring a bill only to limit his term to 2 terms only. So Dr. Prasad thought, what's the point? And he took back his name. When Dr. Prasad took back his name and showed no interest in contesting again, Nehru also told his minister, don't bring a bill, let it be. Because the purpose was solved. The purpose was only to tell Dr. Prasad that if you contest thrice, I'll have to bring a proposal to limit your term. And from that time onwards, it has become a convention, unsaid rule that nobody gets more than one chance. Just one chance, you become there, 5 years, enjoy. But constitutionally, you can become the Indian president any number of times. Moving on. Vacancy in office. How can vacancies be created? The provisions for vacancy also find a mention under Article 65. Now, vacancy can be created through various provisions. Number one, vacancy can happen once a tenure comes to an end. On the expiry of tenure, let me clarify here. If the president's tenure comes to an end, what if the new president who is about to get elected falls sick, cannot join on the given date? The old president continues till the new president gets appointed. Are we clear? So a current president can continue beyond 5 years also until or till the new or till his or her successor takes the post. He or she is allowed to continue to be the president beyond 5 years also. Can continue beyond 5 years till successor is takes the post. Okay. So this is there. One more way to have vacancy is by resignation. Somebody can simply say, I don't want this post now. No power, nothing is there. I want real powers. I am resigning. Resign? Who's stopping you? So you can submit your resignation. You have to inform somebody, vice president. Okay. Now, mind you, when the vice president gets the resignation letter of the president, VP must inform the presiding officer of Lok Sabha, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, immediately. That's it. So this is there with respect to the procedure. Then the president can also be removed from the post, and the removal process of the president is called impeachment. We'll discuss this shortly. Next slide only. This is Article 61, the impeachment of the president. Or the president passes away, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad, Zakir Hussain, so many cases. Or otherwise, the president gets disqualified, is ill, vacancy can be created. Now, understand, the very first provision, this is a regular vacancy. 5 years are over, we conduct elections, new person gets elected. But all these things, they are unplanned and they are sudden. Think of these things. These are sudden, right? You can't plan for this. So in this situation, what happens? The vice president takes over in the meantime. VP becomes the acting president. Till new president is elected. Can you observe this point here? VP only becomes the acting president, not the full term president. So if something happens to the president for a temporary period, time being, VP takes up the role. In the meantime, elections will take place. Now, VP can contest elections, but has to contest elections properly. And then whoever wins becomes a president. So, say in USA, if something happens to Joe Biden, I'm not hoping for it to happen. I have no interest in that. But if something happens to him, he passes away, then Kamala Harris will become the president of USA. Full-fledged president, not an acting president and all. But in India, that's not the case. And elections have to take place within 6 months. Elections to take place within 6 months. So the president's post cannot be vacant for more than 6 months. This vacancy has to be filled within 6 months. Must be filled within 6 months. One more thing, point of observation. If the president's post becomes vacant, VP becomes the president. This is mentioned in Article 65. Fair enough. What if there is no VP? What if VP also dies? Then what will you do? This happened actually. In 1969, Dr. Zakir Hussain passed away in the office. And VV Giri, who was a VP, he resigned and he said, I will not be president, acting president. I will contest elections and I will become the full-fledged president only. Now we don't have president, we don't have vice president. What to do? The constitution was silent on this. They had nothing mentioned. So we had to pass a law to take over the situation. So what was the law? A law was passed. It says that in case VP is not there, then the Chief Justice of India becomes the acting president. If he is not there, then the senior most Supreme Court judge. If he is not there, next judge, next judge. We have 34 judges. If all are not there, then what is happening to all of them is the bigger question. How are so many people dying? So we don't know what will happen if all 34 judges are dead. Then we don't know. But as of now, we have plenty of options. And this provision, that Supreme Court judges can become acting presidents, there's a law called President Discharge of Functions Act 1969. According to this law, judges can become presidents. Very weird, right? I mean, if you look at USA, to give you an example, in USA, what they follow is, if we don't have president, VP becomes the president. If no VP, then the member of House of Representatives. If that person is not there, then Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Attorney General. Judges of US Supreme Court can never become presidents. There is very strict separation of power. In India, anything happens, the first person we think of is Judge of Supreme Court only, as if he is the most unbiased person. That's not true. Judges can also be biased, but that's what we think. Anyway, that is there. And this brings us to a very important point of observation. So in the recent time, you will see through questions also, UPSC has been asking a certain type of question. Every year, you'll find one or two questions. As per the Constitution, they'll use a phrase, as per the Constitution. So you should know what is mentioned in the Constitution and what is not. For example, we all now know that if there is no president and no vice president, CGI becomes the acting president. Yes or no? Yes. But if the statement says, as per the Constitution, in the absence of president and vice president, the CGI becomes the acting president. Yes or no? Wrong. It is not as per the Constitution, it is as per this law. There's a difference. As per the Constitution, VP becomes the president. That's all we know. So it has to be very clearly understood what is mentioned in the Constitution and what is not. I hope this point is clear. We'll see through our various questions that UPSC has become very obsessed with these kind of questions. Okay, so that is there. Now, as we are discussing various ways of vacancy, one such way is also called impeachment. Very important. Article 61, article also very important. Impeachment means the process of removal. This word impeachment has its origins in UK. In UK, they used to call it Bill of Attenders. I mean, once you study history, you'll be studying about the most famous impeachment that happened for Warren Hastings, started by Edmund Burke, which could not be completed in the 18th century. But this impeachment basically is a way wherein Parliament gets to punish. In our country, who can punish? Only judiciary can punish. It's a very interesting point to observe. See, when you go to police to file a complaint, you don't file a complaint actually. You are filing information. Because you can only file a complaint to that person who has the power to punish. Police cannot punish. Police will take your information and file a complaint with judiciary. Judiciary punishes. But impeachment is a very unique process where Parliament punishes by removing somebody from their post. So it was thought of in UK that to limit the power of king, What if king has made some appointment in the parliament? How can we remove the person? So UK parliament thought if the MPs only vote and remove, we can punish also. That is how it came into being, but it is of no concern to us. So Article 61 talks about impeachment of the president. And mind you, this word impeachment is ideally to be used only with the removal of the Indian president, nobody else. Other people are removed. President is impeached. Difference. Now, what is the ground? Ground means reason. What is the reason to impeach the or remove the president? Only one reason. One and only one reason. Violation of constitution. If the president is found to be violating the constitution, remove him. That's it. There is no other reason, no other ground. And what do you mean by violation of constitution? It is not defined also. So we don't really know. Not defined in the constitution. I hope you know this symbol for constitution. Okay. Not defined in the constitution. Whatever MPs may feel. So what is a manner? Manner means the process. How do you impeach the Indian president? So this process can start in any house. It can start in Lok Sabha, it can start in Rajya Sabha also. Any house. But if you want to start the removal proceedings, a single MP cannot get up and say, sir, I want to impeach president. Please, voting. No, no. Of the total MPs, 1/4 MPs have to give a notice in writing. So, 1/4 members, meaning 1/4 into 543 for Lok Sabha, or 1/4 into 245 for Rajya Sabha. So look at this. We require more than 100 MPs to just start the proceeding. And you have to give 14 days prior notice also. Notice to President that, sir, we are going to remove you. Please pack your bags, call the movers and packers. You have to vacate the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Inform him, don't surprise him. Sir, surprise, you are removed. Don't do this, please. You have to at least inform him that we are planning to remove you. Anyway, now this process, the notice is given to presiding officer, whoever is there in that house, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. The presiding officer accepts it, and then voting takes place. Voting in the house. So this voting takes place, and after voting is done, and every voting is done by not less than 2/3 of total membership of the house, meaning 2/3 into 543 for for Lok Sabha, or 2/3 into 245 for Rajya Sabha. 2/3 into 543, that is 362 people. 362 MPs have to agree, and only then can you remove the president. Plus, again, 2/3 MPs have to agree in Rajya Sabha out of 245, that is 164 people. It's a very big number. You can't get this kind of majority. Not possible. In today's context, not possible to get this kind of majority. So voting in that house, then once the house passes it, it goes to the other house. In the other house, investigation takes place on the charges. If the other house also agrees, then the person, again voting takes place, and then if it is passed by 2/3 majority there also, then the president stands removed. From the date of passage in the second house, the president is impeached. This is the procedure of impeachment of the Indian president as mentioned under Article 61. Okay. This is a very unique kind of majority. Of course, majority means more than 50%. This is a special kind of majority, and this is the highest majority that is required in any situation in our country. The bar is very, very high. So that is why it is almost impossible to impeach the president. Frankly, in today's context, getting 164 MPs in Rajya Sabha to support your proposal to remove the president, impossible. No party has this kind of majority in Rajya Sabha. So that is there. This is how the president is impeached. I'll repeat the process once again. Step 1, 1/4 MPs of any house, whichever house starts it, will have to give the proposal to the presiding officer. Then voting takes place, on which 2/3 people have to vote. And if it is approved, it is sent to the other house that you also pass. In the other house also, after investigating the allegation, they will vote 2/3 only separately, and then after both houses have voted separately and passed it, from the date of passage in the second house, the president stands impeached. This is Article 61. And as I said, there is no definition of what means violation of constitution. It completely depends on the MPs who are raising this allegation. See, ideally, what we understand by violation of constitution would be if the president violates any provision of the constitution, or the president is violating the settled conventions and practices. President is not signing on any bill only. Any bill that comes, he is not signing only. All these things can be seen as violation of constitution, right? You also have the duty to, the obligation to preserve, protect, and defend the constitution. If you are misbehaving, misusing your post, trying to play politics, then it can also be seen that you are violating the constitution. So there can be various things which can be seen as violating the constitution, right? So whatever the MPs feel, because it's totally a process that takes place in the parliament. Nobody has any control over it. This is called impeachment, Article 61. And that is all as far as basic information on the president is concerned. Before that, let us solve a question, a very interesting question, a very old one, but very interesting question. Let's see how many of you get this correct. I'll give you a minute to solve this question. 1 full minute, full enjoyment. Let's see whether you get the right answer or not. Please think and then mark the answer. %58% are marked D and 30% are marked C. Oh, the question is almost 3 decades old, but still causes confusion. Which one of the following is a part of the electoral college for the election of president? Let's look at the election of the president. Who is a part? MP, Lok Sabha, MP, Rajya Sabha, MLA. Yes or no? But does not form the part for the group forum for his impeachment. In the impeachment, who is a part? MP, Lok Sabha, MP, Rajya Sabha. That's it. The question does not say who is not a part. The question says who is a part of election but not a part of impeachment. What is the answer? MLAs. MLAs are part of election process but not a part of impeachment process. Hence, the answer is not C. Answer is D. Because MLCs take part neither in election nor in impeachment, but MLAs take part in election but don't take part in impeachment. So the answer is D. And one more thing, very interesting observation. Nominated MPs, they take part in what? Impeachment. Yes or no? All the MPs of Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha take part in impeachment. But do they also take part in the removal? Of course. But do they also take part in election? Of course not. 12 nominated MPs of Rajya Sabha, they don't take part in election. They only take part in removal. Do not take part in election. Anyway, I think this was something you could have understood on your own only. No problem. That is all as far as our elections are concerned. Okay. That's it. Now we'll move on and discuss the powers and functions of the President of India. So, what are the powers and functions of the Indian President? Okay. So, coming to the very first element, the most important element is the executive powers. Now, see, let me clarify one thing here. In the course of our next slides, we have categorized all the powers of the president into various headings: executive power, legislative power, judicial power, financial power. But the constitution does not categorize them into such headings. We have done it for our own ease of understanding. We meaning books and all. Constitution does not categorize that this is executive power of president, this is the judicial power of president. There is only one power mentioned, one power, that is executive power. And there's only one exception, we'll discuss it shortly, the legislative power, that is ordinance. Otherwise, this categorization that you will see is done for us. We have done it for our own ease of understanding. Okay. First up is the executive powers of the president. After all, the president is a head of the state, has the executive powers. So, what kind of executive powers does the president command? Now, for the past so many hours since the morning, I've been making the same kind of statement again and again. President is a nominal head, right? Has no real power. Why to waste money in elections? And some of you also pointed out that why are we having such a complicated procedure? This person has no real power only. But when we make this statement, where is the source? How dare we make such a statement? Is there some kind of backing? Yes, there is. There is a constitutional backing for the statement, and that is Article 74. Extremely important. Article 74, Clause 1. This article says that the president of our country will exercise his functions on the aid and advice of COM. What is COM? Council of Ministers, with the head as the Prime Minister. So basically, the president always acts on the advice of prime minister. Is the advice binding? It's not mentioned anywhere. When this rule book was framed, nothing was mentioned like this. It was assumed only that it will be binding. But in 1976, to clarify this matter, Indira Gandhi made a change, and this advice was made binding. Made binding via the 42nd Amendment Act 1976. So Indira Gandhi government modified the constitution, and now the aid and advice was made binding. Then if the advice is binding only, then what power do I have? I have to follow what the PM says. Then where is the real power? PM. So is it wrong to say that the president is a normal head only? Not at all. But see, don't feel that Indira Gandhi done something very bad. It is something which was already there in the country. To also point this out, please understand, the very fundamental model or fundamental principle of parliamentary system is this only. Let's use the word directly, parliamentary, to help you understand what am I referring to. World over, in any parliamentary system, this is a standard procedure. The head of state is a nominal head, whatever name you may call him, and head of government is the real head. This is the crux of a parliamentary system. In our country, we call this person as the president, and we call this person as the prime minister. There is nothing wrong in this. That is how the parliamentary system is based upon. That is how it is built upon. And in fact, if you look at UK also, same thing. And since we have borrowed this concept from UK, in UK, they call it Westminster model. Not minister, Minster. It is called Westminster because the Parliament of UK is in central London in the Palace of Westminster, right? So that's why we call it the Westminster model. Anyway, so Indira Gandhi did nothing wrong. She just made something textual, something which was just there in the implied sense. She made it mandatory, right? So something which was more of a convention and a practice, she codified it properly. That is what has been done, and that is why even when you'll hear this term, the president is a mere rubber stamp. PM says, sir, sign this order. My advice is there. President says, oh, sorry, sign. That's it. That is why president also sometimes is referred to as the rubber stamp. Why? Because it does not really have real parts. I mean, you are always bound by the advice of prime minister only. What is your real part? So that is there. Now, in 1978, for the first time, we had a non-Congress government at the center. Janata Party came to power. So what happened was, Janata Party was not a single party. It was a group of five parties plus one Congress for Democracy, 6 parties grouped together. So Janata Party made a change. It said, see, let's give president one chance. If I am the prime minister, I am telling president, sir, sign it. The president can return this advice once for reconsideration. Can return once for reconsideration. The president can say, PM, please reconsider. Are you sure you want me to sign final? And if the prime minister sends back the advice, if sent back, then it is again binding on the president to give assent. Assent means approval, sign. So the president can ask once that, sir, are you sure? Should I sign final? The PM says, sir, you sign, please, sir. You please sign. And then the president has to sign. Okay. So this is one thing. And this entire concept of sending back once and then making it binding comes from via 44th Amendment Act 1978. But in short, please don't feel awkward here. It's okay. That is how the system of parliamentary model is. That's how the Westminster model is. The advice given to the president is binding. He or she can do nothing about it. Okay. So this is the rubber stamp. Rubber stamp. It's just like, you are sitting in your office, Rashtrapati Bhavan, letter comes. It's like a mechanical robot. Your stamp is there. Your stamp has to be there. You are just a stamp, no more than a stamp. Your value is no more than a stamp. Okay. So this is with respect to the presidential form of government. Now, please, we are referring here to the president. I know you may have a question now, then what the hell is this post for? Remove this post. Don't worry. We'll also discuss why it is important. There are some situations where we need the president. So we'll discuss those shortly. Very few situations, but then we do need the president. It is not that this person is completely useless only, right? After all, the president is the head of the entire country. Oh, one more thing. When I'm saying this word state, state does not mean the states like Odisha and Jharkhand and Bihar and Tamil Nadu and Gujarat. State means the entire nation. Okay. Don't feel this is a state. State means the entire country. So that is it. This is Article 74, Clause 1. I hope now that you understand why we are constantly saying that president has no real powers. We should not constantly call that rubber stamp and all. It does not look nice, but that's the reality. Harsh reality is this only, that Indian president can do nothing. I mean, even when you think that they can return the advice is ultimately binding only. The parliamentary form of government. That is the beauty of our parliamentary form of government. What can we say? Anyway, now let me also read the article for you for your own understanding. This is the original article. Council of Ministers to aid and advise the President. There shall be a Council of Ministers with the PM at the head to aid and advise the President. Aid and advise the President. This was the original article. Nothing was mentioned after it. But we made a change. Who shall, look at the word, shall, in the exercise of his functions, act in accordance with such advice. Shall act in accordance with such advice. What is this? Binding. This is what was, this provision is what was made by Indira Gandhi in the 42nd Amendment Act 1976. Not only this, let's read further. Provided that, the president may require, president may require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice. Oh, reconsider such advice, either generally or otherwise. And the president again shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after reconsideration. After the government has reconsidered, the PM has reconsidered, the PM says, sir, you sign please. My advice is final only. Then the president has to sign it. This provision, we know very well, right from here, was added via 44th Amendment Act 1978. That's it. This entire provision. I hope this point is clear. Same article also has a clause 2 that the question whether any, and if so, what advice has been given by the minister to the president, that advice can't be questioned in any court of law. Whatever advice has been given by the minister to the president, you can't question that advice in any court. Are we clear? Whether the advice is constitutional, unconstitutional, you cannot question this in any court of law. Supreme Court has said this. Advice need not be disclosed. So, clause 2 says the question whether any, and if so, what advice was given by minister to the president will not be questioned in any court of law. This is beyond questioning. This is Article 74, which describes the entire crux of our relationship between the president and the prime minister. Okay. Now, solve this question, a very, very difficult question, so as to say. Oh, sorry, I forgot the poll. I'll give you just 30 seconds for it. I mean, 30 seconds is also a bit too much, but please mark the answer. %26% have marked C. Really? Why this C? Let's see. Which one of the following amendments to the Indian Constitution empowers the president to send back the advice? Sending back comes from 44th. This was only making it binding. Remember, sending back, 44th, binding 42nd. Fine line, don't be confused. It was a very easy question. So that is there with respect to D. Council of Ministers, COM. And this is with respect to Article 74. See, article is important. Don't mug up the article. Just mug up this concept. Understand? Now, let me also tell you one more thing. Think of this. You are saying that president has no real power. If things go wrong, should we punish him? Then, of course not. If somebody has no real powers, then why should they be punished? So, don't worry. We have given complete immunity to the president. There is a separate article for this. Article 361. This article provides immunity to the president and also the governors. Same article. What is the immunity? The immunity, let's read. President and governors, of course, shall not be answerable to any court. Plus governors. For the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of his office. So, of course, that person has no real power. If he or she signs a document, are they signing it on their own? But the PM told you to sign. Minister is telling you to sign. What is my power? Why are you punishing me? Don't call me in court and all. How dare you call me to court? Is it my advice? Is it my power? The PM said sign. I signed it. You talk to him. Or the decision is wrong. You call him. Don't question me. You cannot question the president in court. President will never be forced into appearing in any court of law. I hope this point is clear. Article 361 provides immunity to the president. And not just this. No criminal proceedings whatsoever shall be instituted or shall be continued against the president while or governor while they are in office. If the president or governor is in office, you cannot continue a pending criminal case or you cannot start a new criminal case. It's not possible only. You can't file a criminal case against the president. President commits a murder. Can you file a criminal case? No, you can't. You have to first impeach him. Once he is removed from the post, then you can file a criminal case. But while they occupy the office, you cannot file a criminal case. See, this provision was basically done to ensure a sense of respect and dignity for the topmost posts. But our politicians are politicians and they'll misuse this provision. For example, for governors. So back in 1990s, there was this minister at the central level called Sheila Kaul. Now, Srimati Sheila Kaul, her name featured in some corruption allegation. She stepped down from the post of minister and she was made the governor of Himachal Pradesh. When you become the governor, no criminal procedure, read the line, no criminal proceedings can be continued also against you. So if a case is going on and you become the governor, that case against you has to stop. Once you demit the post, then the case can continue. But while you're holding the post, case against you cannot continue. Such shameful activities. Is this why we have the post? Is this why we have this provision? This provision is to show respect for the authority, the post. Don't appoint people who have a pending criminal case against them at the post of governor. That is blatantly wrong. And this was done once again in 2012. One more Sheila, this time Sheila Dikshit. She was, her name featured in the CWG scams, the Commonwealth Games scam. And she was made the governor again. This is not right. You don't misuse these provisions. They are meant to showcase mark of respect and dignity for the individual and the post. But who can tell our great politicians? Anyway, point number 3. No process for arrest or imprisonment of the president or governor shall be issued from any court. Meaning what? Nobody can issue an arrest warrant against the president or governor. President has killed somebody. Can you arrest him? Sorry, you can't. You impeach them first. Governors have killed somebody. Can you arrest them? No. You have to remove them from post. Then only can you arrest the person. Such is the immunity given to the president. Of course, they won't kill anybody, right? Let's be clear. And finally, no civil proceedings shall be instituted against the president or governor. Now, it can be done civil case can be filed after giving 2 months notice. 2 months prior notice. Civil case can be filed. See, civil case means a case where there's no jail punishment, but the punishment in the form of some kind of compensation, right? Removal from the post. These are all civil punishments. Criminal punishment is when you have jail sentence, monetary fines in that sense. That's a difference. So, civil case can be filed with prior permission, but the criminal case can't be filed. Okay, that is there as far as Article 361, the immunity is concerned. That is all as far as Article 74 was concerned. Now I think we have a better understanding of what exactly is the role of the Indian president in the current context. But please don't write the president off as yet. We'll discuss various areas, smaller only, very small areas, but where the president has real powers. Okay. Now coming to executive powers of the president. First up, all executive actions of the government of India are formally taken in her name. So formally, every decision of the government is taken in the name of the president. Now, president may not sign every order, but formally it is the president who is deciding. So even though we know very well, everybody knows the real power is the government. You also today, even before this today, if anything went wrong in the country, nobody was blaming Draupadi Murmu. People were blaming the PM only, right? Why? We know very well. The real power in the parliamentary system is with the government. And there is no need to get angry and blame the president. You blame the government. That's there. Article 74, we know very well. The president to act on the aid and advice of Council of Ministers. Number 3, all officers enjoy office during her pleasure. This is Article 310. And second is Article 75, Clause 2. The ministers shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Now, these two are very important provisions. Let me help you understand what is this pleasure of president. So, we have seen two things right now. First thing we saw, and please hear me out carefully. First thing we saw was the pleasure for the officers. People like you, one thing that I am sure you are aware, you are all going to be, if you are clearing the central examination, central services, that is UPSC, you will all be appointed by the president. If you clear the SPSC exam, you'll be appointed by the governor. So your appointing authority is the president of India. Now, understand, every civil servant has a duty. Duty of every officer. What is the duty of every officer? The duty of every officer, two duties. Number one, you have to be responsible towards the government. Number one. Number two, you have to be responsive to needs of people. Responsive towards the need of people. That is your duty. And if you fail to perform these duties, your services can be terminated immediately. Of course, we'll give you opportunity and all to represent your case, but the idea of pleasure is that your job is not some contract based job. Failure to perform duties, meet the standards, can be a possible ground for termination. This is called pleasure. That is why we say that you're always working on the pleasure of the president. So not the president, but the government. So if the government wants, it can remove you at any given point of time based on your poor performance, right? That is there. That is why in your service conditions also it is said that till you are attain the age of 50 and after 35 years of service, the government has, whichever is earlier, the government has full right to force you into a voluntary retirement. It happens a lot. Every year, 5-10 people who are civil servants are forced into voluntary retirement. If they don't perform very well, the government will say, "Bhai, please leave. You're occupying a post uselessly. We have tolerated you for so many years. Now, thank you so much." That's it for officers. Now, the same thing is with respect to the ministers also. When it comes to ministers, now slightly interesting. See, in case you want to form the government, we had elections recently in some northeastern states. Now, have you observed that to win the election, you have to win half or more than half of the total number of seats? Now, take Lok Sabha for example. In case you want to win the election, Lok Sabha has 543 MPs or 543 seats. In case you want to win the Lok Sabha and form the government, you have to win how many seats? 272 or more. Yes or no? Imagine after 2024 elections, BJP gets 200 seats. Magically, Congress also gets 200 seats. Though it's extremely unlikely, but let's assume, right? For Congress fans here, why to disappoint them? And let's say, surprisingly, by some stroke of luck, Aam Aadmi Party gets 143 seats. Though it is not going to happen, let's assume. Their fans can rejoice here. This is the result. Let's assume the result. We are saying to form the government, you have to get how many seats? 272 seats. No party has gotten those seats, right? This is a classic case of what we know as hung parliament. What is meant by hung parliament? No party has the majority. That is called hung parliament. In this situation, the president can appoint any person as the prime minister. And if you're not able to get majority, the president can remove you also. So first things first, in a hung parliament, president can appoint anybody as the prime minister. That's it. I hope you understand what is hung parliament. When no party is able to get the majority required to form the government, hung parliament. Second, now, second is slightly more interesting. See, it is a duty of the president to preserve, protect, and defend the constitution. Yes or no? Let's assume that the president comes to know that he gets some WhatsApp message that the Home Minister of India, Mr. Amit Shah, is sending good morning texts to Imran Khan, the former PM of Pakistan. Every day sending good morning text. They are talking on WhatsApp, chatting 2-3 hours every day, hundreds of chats. The president goes to PM and says, "Sir, what is the minister doing? He is talking, sending good morning text to Imran Khan, right? That's wrong. You remove him." The PM says, "Sir, come on. This is all fake news. You know very well, fake news, propaganda." President says, okay, sir, no problem. After a few days, the president again gets this evidence that Mr. Amit Shah is doing long WhatsApp video call, FaceTime with the former PM of Pakistan, Imran Khan. 2 hours of FaceTime. The president again calls the PM, sir, what is happening? Your minister is doing FaceTime 2-3 hours. What are they discussing? 2-3 hours FaceTime uselessly. You remove the minister, I'm telling you. The PM says, sir, just relax. This is all fake news. Don't worry. Nobody is talking. After a few days, the president gets hardcore, solid evidence, concrete evidence, some drone shots, right? Some photographs are there of Amit Shah and Imran Khan having a rooftop party. The president again calls the PM saying, sir, you were saying nothing is happening. See, they are enjoying rooftop party. Now you remove the minister. The PM says, sorry, sir. We are BFFs. I can't remove him. Sorry. The president says, I am sorry. It is my fundamental duty. It is my constitutional obligation to preserve, protect the constitution. I have to ensure that the purity and ethics of administration are to be maintained. Your minister is unable to fulfill this obligation. I'll have to remove the person. Sorry. He has no pleasure of mine. I am dismissing him from the post. This is also allowed, but only under extreme circumstances. So president can remove ministers to maintain the purity and ethics of administration or governance. The president can take this step. Now, this is under extreme situation, after sufficient warning and based on concrete evidence. So that is why this is actually the real power of the president. This is possible, right? So this is where the president can use the real power to remove a minister, even if the PM wants him or her to be minister. This is what we know as the discretion of the president. Discretion of president. So we were looking at the uselessness of this post. It is not utterly useless. In case some minister has gone completely crazy, misbehaving, but is PM's best friend, the president can remove him from the post, right? So ministers can be removed from post if they don't maintain the ethics and purity of the governance and administration, but only after giving proper warning, sufficient warning, this can be done. This is actually the real power of the president. Article 75, clause 2. Okay. This is what is the pleasure doctrine, the pleasure of the president. Okay. Let's do one thing now. Let's take a break. Though we had planned for a break at 5:45, but let's take a break now. And we'll be back at 6 o'clock, and we'll continue our discussion further on the remaining provisions in the constitution pertaining to the president's power. Break, please. Be back at 6 p.m. Break, please, guys.